It is important, especially working with a new student, to understand whether or not a student has to take developmental math or developmental English. Currently for English, we offer English 002, which is what a student would need to take before taking English 111. For math, we offer Math 003, and then we also offer students the opportunity to take Math 171, Pre-Calculus Algebra, with a support course, Math 071. To determine whether or not a student needs to take developmental math or English, the easiest thing to do is to locate the Test Scores tab in Carteret Compass. There are really 3 different things you can expect to see when you go to the Test Scores tab. Let's take this first student as the first case. If you open the Test Scores tab and you see RISE 2.8 plus, that means a student is eligible to take English 111 and then whatever math that the student needs for their program of study. This student would not need any developmental coursework. Let's look at another case. If you pull up the Test Scores tab and you see RISE GPA less than 2.2, the student needs to take English 002 and Math 003 before going into any college level English or math. Now, a student can opt into taking the placement test in the MAP Center. So this student note did take the placement test. For English, there's only one test a student takes, so you'll see RISE E1. If a student scores a 70 or greater on the English placement test, he or she can go directly into English 111 without taking English 002. So this student would be able to register for English 111. Now for math, you may see up to 3 tests here, each standing for Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. The first test that you're going to see is RISE M1, which is Tier 1 of math. Again, you're looking for a score of 70 or greater. If the student scores a 70 or greater on the Tier 1 level of math, he or she can go directly into Math 110 and Math 143. Now, this student in particular did not score a 70 or greater, so she would need to go and take Math 003 before taking any college level math. Again, though, if she had scored a 70 or greater here, she could then go on to take Math 110 or Math 143. If a student passes the first tier of math, then they can go on to take RISE M2, which is the second tier of the math placement test. If a student passes the second tier with a score of 70 or greater, they can still take Math 110 and Math 143, but now they can also take Math 152, Statistics, and they can also take Math 171, Pre-Calculus Algebra, with the support course, Math 071. Again, you may see that third level tier test here. That would be RISE M3. If a student scores a 70 or greater on the third tier math test, then they can take any math course, including Math 171, Pre-Calculus Algebra, without any type of developmental math to go along with it. This is the last case that you may see when you pull up the Test Scores tab. So again, just to recap, if a student says RISE GPA 2.8 or greater, they can take any math or English. If it says RISE GPA less than 2.2, they automatically need to take developmental English or math unless they have some test scores that are denoted. The third type is a RISE GPA of 2.2 or greater. This means they fall within that window of 2.2 to 2.8. Those students, in terms of English, they have to take English 002. That is the only option for them. So English is pretty straightforward. Unless a student has a 2.8 or greater, they need to take English 002. Again, they could possibly take the placement test, but otherwise, like this student here, would need English 002. Now, the option for math, if the student wants to take Math 171, which is Pre-Calculus Algebra, they can go directly into it, but they have to take Math 071 with it, which is the support course. That would be that developmental piece. If they want to take any other math, so if they want to take Math 110, Math 143, or Math 152, and you see this 2.2 plus, they would need to take Math 003 first, and then they could go into whichever math they wanted. Again, since this student doesn't have a placement test, unless they want to take Math 171 with that support course, they would need to take those two developmental courses that we offer, which is Math 003 and English 002. There is one more place in Carteret Compass you can go to determine whether or not a student needs developmental coursework. Again, I would probably just recommend going to the test scores tab and looking for those 3 different scenarios that we just discussed. Another option, if you go to a student's timeline and you scroll to the very beginning of the timeline, we talked about this in the earlier video, you're going to see non-term courses listed here. Our previous developmental model was DMA courses and DRE courses. If a student has credit for the old DMA 10 through 80, and yes, you have to see all of them here, a student is then eligible to take any level math here at the college. If you see the old DRE 096, 097, and 098 listed here, again, the student is eligible to take any college level English, starting with English 111, of course. Now, you may not see all of these, you may just see some of these. So one of the things that are posted underneath this video is a developmental course placement chart. On the second page, I give you a list of options that you may see underneath that non-term course listed, and then what the student is eligible to take. So again, if you see all of those old DREs listed, they can take English 111. If you just see English 002 listed, they have to take either English 002 or they can take the placement test. If there's nothing listed in terms of English, they definitely need to take English 002 or take the placement test. Math, of course, is a little bit more complicated. You have to see all of the DMAs listed 10 through 80 for them to be eligible to take any math course. You may see DMA 10, 20, and 30 listed and no other DMAs listed. In that case, they can take Math 110 and Math 143. You may see 10 through 50 listed. They could then take Math 110, Math 143, Math 152, and that Math 171 with the co-rec course, Math 071. If you just see Math 003 listed, they can either take Math 003 or they can take pre-calculus algebra with the support course. And then if you see no math listed, they would then, of course, have to take Math 003 or take the placement test.